I like a guy with chutzpah. Donald Trump has taught me not to underestimate a billionaire with ambition. But Trump had a lot of things going for him that Bloomberg doesn't. Let's give Bloomberg the advantage in terms of raw cash. Bloomberg has much more money than Trump, but Trump had a lot of other things going for him. He had a name, a brand, an audacity. What do you make of this?
Well, I think Bloomberg may simply be making a poor decision. I think it's as simple as that. I think he sees that Joe Biden is weak and there isn't a really strong alternative to Biden. The only other quote unquote moderate, and it really is a stretch to call him a moderate, the only other moderate doing well right now is Pete Buttigieg, who is all of 37 years old and has never run anything larger than a small town in Indiana and hasn't really even run that terribly well. So I think there's a sense of panic in the donor class. Bloomberg was content to let Biden run with this, and Biden is still the front runner, but he's looking very weak. There's not a lot of confidence in his chances. There's not a lot of confidence in his competence, mentally and otherwise. So I think Bloomberg has decided, in a sense, to make a statement, but I don't think he has a real chance at winning. And I think this may have just been a poor decision, almost an emotional one. There's no way he can win. He's going to be isolated in the first 4 primary contests. So for the first month of elections and voting, we're not going to hear about Michael Bloomberg at all. He's not going to be on the ballot in Iowa, New Hampshire, Nevada, South Carolina. He's jumping in on Super Tuesday in Alabama, in Arkansas. These are not states that are terribly hospitable to liberal nanny state bureaucrats from New York City. And so I think this is a losing strategy. I cannot see him picking up enough support. He hasn't been on the debate stage at all. The other candidates immediately pounced on him. They are dismissing him as a billionaire who thinks he can buy the election. There already are some billionaires who are trying to buy the election. Tom Steyer is one of them, and he at least made the debate stage by spending strategically and boosting his poll numbers in one of the key primary states. I think it was Nevada. But the Democrats are moving away from the billionaires, and I don't think there's much room for Bloomberg to grow among the Democratic primary electorate. So in a sense, it's a vanity project and probably a very poor decision.
Yeah, you could be right. I mean, he's a smart man, but he's smart about certain things. A smart man is not necessarily smart about all things. He's 77, which means that should he win on his inauguration day, I think he would be 78, turning 79 a few weeks later. Am I right about that? I think that's the math.
I think so. He's the second oldest person in the race. Bernie Sanders is the oldest, and Bloomberg is now second oldest. He's younger than Bernie, but older than Biden.
I think Bloomberg is mentally still quite sharp. If he is in 4 years or 8 years is a different story. Trump is in his 70s. I think he's actually older than Hillary, if my memory serves, but he feels young. He's got very high energy. Let's say that Bloomberg has high energy. Let's say he's 100% there mentally. The charge against him is that he wants to buy the race. Well, let's take that at face value. I don't know his estimated wealth, but theoretically, I mean, if he's 77, this is his last big move in his life, I'm guessing. So maybe he could, theoretically, spend a shocking and unprecedented amount of money. I'm going to pick the number $5 billion. I just made that up. It would be unprecedented, unthinkable. I mean, Hillary Clinton and all her super PACs, I don't even think reached $2 billion in the entire general election. But theoretically, if a guy spent $5 billion, if he had his own media network, could it win, Joel?
Well, I don't think the media network is going to help much because they aren't really going to be able to help him directly. They might lay off investigating other candidates. In fact, they might be forced to do so because they've already stated publicly that they're going to avoid investigating other candidates, I think, except for Donald Trump himself, who's the president, and so they're allowing themselves to do that. So they'll investigate Trump, but they won't investigate Bloomberg. They never do. And they are not going to investigate the other Democrats. So he's not going to be able to use his network, really, to swing the primary election, at least. Maybe in the general it comes into play. But I don't see this really as a huge advantage. Remember, Donald Trump was outspent something like 5-1 by Hillary Clinton and the Democratic donors in 2016, and he still came away with the win there. So it's not just spending, you've got to have a message. And it's not clear that Bloomberg really offers an alternative. I mean, he would basically say, well, I ran New York City very well. Well, Trump can say, I'm running the whole country pretty well. Look at the economy. Look at the fact that we're at peace everywhere.
Yeah.
We destroyed ISIS. We're in talks with North Korea. We're having a trade war with China, but we're also in trade talks with China. We have a new agreement to replace NAFTA. Once the Democrats stop trying to impeach me, they'll just pass that, the USMCA agreement. So Trump has a better record in government than Bloomberg. And Bloomberg, by the way, nearly got tossed out when he ran for a third term. The New York mayors were not allowed to run for third terms. Then Bloomberg changed the rules to allow himself to run for a third term. He nearly lost to his Democrat challenger. So I don't know that Bloomberg's record is going to be very convincing to most people. And again, it looks like a vanity project, a very expensive one. I don't know if it's going to help the Democratic cause or not. There's some rumors that maybe he's just trying to see if there's room for another candidate after him, someone who's more effective, younger perhaps, more experienced. I don't know who that would be. I think the field is essentially set. The front runners are the front runners. There aren't going to be too many more surprises. Time is running out. The Iowa caucuses are on February 3rd, Monday, February 3rd. And there are 4 or 5 front runners in the field. It's very difficult for me to see anybody getting the infrastructure up in time to challenge their dominance. And again, Trump entered the race late, but not that late. Trump entered in June, which was 3 or 4 months in. But he didn't wait until November. And by November of 2015, if you think back, he had already been on top of the polls for 4 months. So it's going to be difficult for Bloomberg to make up the kind of ground he needs to make it to the front of the pack, never mind to win.
That's an excerpt from the Ezra Levant Show, which is a show I do every day. I do a monologue, interview an interesting guest, and then I read my hate mail. But you've got to subscribe to it, which you can do at premium.rebelnews.com.